Good morning. I'm Tom Guerra from CBIA, and today's webinar is designed to give you an overview on the financing options available through CBIA's affiliate, Connecticut Innovations. Today you'll hear from experts from CI that will explain the benefits of their direct, guaranteed, and junior participation loan programs. With us today from CI are Joe Harpy, who's the SVP and Chief Lending Officer, Sandra Rizza, the AVP and Loan Officer, Cynthia Petrozello, Vice President of the Connecticut Brownfields Redevelopment Authority. I'll be moderating the seminar today, and if you're learning, as you're learning about the loan products, feel free to ask us questions by typing them into the Q&A box on the lower right, and I'll make sure to get them to our speakers throughout the presentation. First, since there are some non-members on board, I would like to give you just a little bit of background on CBIA. CBI is the Connecticut Business and Industry Association, and we are one of the largest business organizations in the U.S. Our goal, or our mission, is to serve as an advocate for the general business and industry community in Connecticut. We promote a state business climate that is globally competitive. We try to encourage communication and cooperation among businesses with government, and we provide a wide range of products and services that benefit member companies, as well as education to those member companies. And for the past 9 years, through various affiliations, we've been able to help small to mid-sized businesses obtain the financing they need to help companies like yours grow and thrive. Next slide, please. If you're joining us today, you likely have one simple question. And as all of us who have survived the recent credit crunch know, events of the past 5 years have made it more difficult to obtain the financing that your business needs. On the positive side, according to CBIA's fourth quarter 2012 credit availability survey, only 1 in 5 business borrowers indicated that they were still experiencing difficulty obtaining financing, which is great. It's way down from over 60% 2 years ago. Still, since the credit crunch, banks have tightened their underwriting guidelines and have become a lot more selective in terms of who they want to lend their money to. Next slide, please. So as owner or CFO of a business, you're probably attending the webinar to get an answer for the question this slide poses. How can you get the financing your company needs to grow and thrive? Next slide, please. In terms of what we'll cover today, in a second I'll turn it over to Joe Harpy, and Joe will give you an overview of Connecticut Innovations, which recently absorbed the Connecticut Development Authority. Besides covering CI's financing, Joe will introduce Sandra and Cynthia, who will go into specifics about individual programs, talk about how CI works, information regarding the CI Connecticut Brownfields Redevelopment Program for Brownfields remediation financing, how the application process works, and then finally how to get in touch with CI. So I guess without further ado, I'd like to now turn it over to Joe Harpy. Joe?
Thank you very much, Tom, and good morning to all of our listeners. And I also want to extend our appreciation to CBIA for providing the business community with this opportunity to determine the best course of action they may want to consider in terms of obtaining the funding that they need for a specific project or need. As Tom said, the former CDA, Connecticut Development Authority, merged with Connecticut Innovations by legislative action this past July. And since then, we've been working on developing synergies between the two organizations. CDA is a debt entity. We provide debt, and CI is the equity portion. Connecticut Innovations is a experienced lending, venture, and small business innovation team, provided creating financing and strategic assistance to help grow the business economy. And we do that through equity, strategic advice and assistance, and debt, as I mentioned. Why Connecticut Innovations? Well, first of all, you have a very experienced team between the equity players through this merger, as well as the debt side. And that combination is something that we feel the market needs. Either it's a debt equity program that we put together, or it's a straight debt program. You have a lot of energy and intelligence on both sides of this merger, as well as experience and dedicated people to get you what you need. The strength of the two respected agencies merged into one powerful entity. Connecticut Innovations, state's most active funder of early-stage high-tech companies through angel investors and the like, and the Connecticut Development Authority, which works with just about every bank in this state. CDA had established over the course of its history relationships with just about every bank in terms of the size of the bank, large banks and community banks. And we always encourage the borrower, the potential borrower, to speak to their bank if the bank has an issue or can't fulfill the need, and we certainly want to talk to you at any point during that conversation. We are independent and agile, which allows us to be innovative and responsive to the market needs, and we apply private sector best practices to achieve public sector goals, and we do that because in the main, the majority of our team comes from the private sector. So we understand what your needs are, we understand how banks work, and we understand how private equity works now that it's here in the public arena. CI can help in three key ways: by providing direct access to capital. We have a direct loan program. We have a junior participation loan program that will be discussed in more detail later that we do with your bank. And we have a guarantee program, somewhat like SBA's, but at a different level, that we could provide assurance to your bank to help you get the deal that you need. By working with your bank to supplement your available financing, we can also introduce you to other lenders. As I mentioned earlier, just about every bank in the state of Connecticut is a partner bank of Connecticut Innovations. If you don't feel that your bank is moving in the direction or at the pace that you need them to, then we can certainly introduce you to other bankers. But we will work with your bank of record to help convince them that they should meet your needs, but should that not happen, again, we're happy to introduce you to other both bank and non-bank lenders. We also are key in help you access capital by offering the brownfield with CDA. The highly respected, stable financing partner, CI has the flexibility to structure transactions, again, that work for you. How can CI help your business? Well, we have several types of loans, as I mentioned previously. We have a direct loan program, which is a component loan to your bank's debt. And what we do is we would work with you and your bank on providing an additional amount of financing that your bank, A, may not be comfortable because of a collateral issue in granting you, or B, you may have had some inconsistency of earnings that the bank would want to wait for some period of time to see that reestablished. And we can interface with you early on with the discussion of a direct loan and help it work along with the existing debt that you may or may not have. What you can use them for? Well, there are a variety of reasons or purposes for these types of loans. They can be used for general working capital purposes, and we see more and more a need for liquidity in the market. The banks want to see liquidity into companies, and we have certainly made available permanent working capital loans that work alongside the working capital loan you may have at your lender, or it's a new event for you and the lender to help you move your business forward. We can look at purchases of fixed assets, revenue-producing equipment, medical equipment. We can also provide loans for information technology purposes to upgrade your existing database, redundancy systems, backup systems for your IT system, as well as various types of software. We have a direct loan program that will assist you in that. And again, we work with your bank on a host of issues, both the same similar types of things banks would do, provide financing. I'll expand, if I may. We include real estate, and we include leasehold improvements. We include just about every business need that you would have in your minds as you work through this process. and we're happy to discuss those needs in great detail with you. Feel free to give us a call at any particular time, and we'd be happy to sit down with you and go through that. Interested in equity or small businesses innovation, you can visit our website, ConnecticutInnovations.com, to learn more. And when you go onto that site, you'll see the new and revised Connecticut Development Authority site, which again now is merged with CI, and those two sites will provide you with the information you need.
Great. I just wanted to remind our attendees to feel free to type in their questions in that lower Q&A block, and also that this webinar will be available for future viewing if you want to go to the CBIA website, usually 24 hours after the event, so probably by Friday morning we'll have this thing up. So just wanted to mention that, and feel free to get us your questions as well. Thanks.
Thank you, Tom. I'm now going to turn the presentation over to one of my officers, Sandra Rizza. She's going to walk you through some of the case studies, some of the deals that we've done, to give you a better sense of the type of transactions that we've looked at that may apply to your specific need, or give you a better sense, I believe, in terms of specifically how we work through deals. Sandra?
Just like to give you a couple examples. I'll start with an example of our direct loan program. We recently had a manufacturer of reusable wood and composite containers that needed to purchase a water jetting machine in order to support a new contract. The purchase of that machine was also going to expand the business's core competency. In addition to the work to be completed for the contract, the equipment would open a new market, allowing the company to develop a new avenue for sales. After experiencing a number of delays through another lending source, the company was referred to CI. Through our direct loan program, CI was able to provide a permanent working capital loan to the company for the purchase of the machine. To preserve liquidity during the ramp-up of production and to provide ample time to generate new business under the new core competency, CI offered 1 year of interest-only payments. CI's rapid response ensured the customer was able to meet its contract deadline, and moving forward, the company will be able to market this new core competency to new and existing customers to grow the business. Another example I have is regarding a seasonal line of credit. We had a company that designs and distributes specialty and sporting goods products primarily throughout the U.S. From November through June, sales are at their lowest level. The company uses the off-season period to pursue R&D for new designs and for the purchase of products and inventory. The company had been experiencing significant cash flow issues during the off-season. In spite of the company having a traditional working capital line, it was insufficient to cover operating costs incurred during the slower period. The lack of the match between the working capital line structured for production season requirements versus the need to adequately manage off-season costs was creating a downward pressure on the entire operation. As a result, CI was able to provide a 100% guarantee to the bank on a new sellable for the 8 months from November to June and was paid to zero for the remaining 4 months.
Great. I had a question, Sandra, from one of our attendees, and I don't know if this is for you or Joe, but the question was, a small business with many partners, do they need personal guarantees from all partners? This may be difficult.
Typically, we have the 10% rule, like banks do, depending on the interest of the partnership. Anyone with a 10% or greater interest ownership would be required to provide a personal guarantee. However, we have made exceptions with respect to that rule on occasion, depending on how active that partner is in the business and the strength of the other partners as a whole. So we will take a look at exceptions to be specific to the question, and we would want to analyze the entire business entity. But in general, again, we have the bank's 10% rule with guarantees of 10% or greater being required.
Great. Thanks a lot, Joe.
Yes, sir. I'd like now to have Cynthia Petrovella, another officer on our Brownfields program, run through the Brownfields program with you. Again, this is a wholly owned subsidiary of CI, and it's geared to provide loans as well as tax incremental financing for impaired buildings and land properties. So, thank you.
Oh, thank you, Joe, and thank you, Tom, as well. Just as a brief background, Connecticut Brownfield Redevelopment Authority, or CBRA as we call it, is a wholly owned subsidiary of, it was previously of CDA, now of Connecticut Innovations. Provides three products: direct loans, loan guarantees, and one of our most unique products is the tax increment financing for the redevelopment of brownfields, and can also be used for information technology projects as well. CI has the ability to issue bonds, and therein with that ability, we have, of course, we have our own bonding authority, and we don't have to wait for the state bond commission, so we can affect these loans and the TIFs at our board meetings, essentially. Our governor has been committed to the redevelopment of brownfield sites, and I've been at this since 1999, and ever since then, we've done in TIFs over $15 million, and we've also done direct loans. We have not done a loan guarantee. If there's any banks out there that would like to do it with us, we would welcome that. But a lot of times the banks step outside of it and ask CDA to do the actual brownfield, CI, I apologize for that, to do the actual direct loan.
And Cynthia, how do you define a brownfield, or how does the state define what a brownfield is?
Well, basically, I do on the website, there is a listing of brownfields. We don't want anyone to really focus on that. A brownfield is basically a contaminated site. What is that? I mean, we live in Connecticut. We live in a former, well, I won't say former, let's hope you're still in a manufacturing society. And, you know, most of the banks are required to do phase ones anyway on the property. So as you know, then it requires a phase two. So if there is some form of, it could be any form of contamination on the property, with an old metal shop, with the petroleum. With respect to that, you know, we would be able to see what we could provide for you. So I always suggest, my suggestion is always, if you think it's a brownfield, then it probably is.
Great. Thank you very much.
Okay. And I wanted to bring up, we have several projects, but one of the most interesting projects that we have, it was a few years back, and I'll go into a few of the other projects we have. This is Killingly Commons in Killingly, Connecticut. And it was on, it was the former Anchor, everybody remembers the Anchor Hocking Glass Container Company. And probably over 20 developers had come in a course of over 20 years to that site. Finally, a developer came because they had said because of our program, they were able to use the TIF program to the tune of $1.5 million. And that is, the town forgoes taxes for a period of time, and what happens is CBRA upfronts the money. And we're paid back through the incremental taxes over a period of years. So we do see a payback period within that. They made that what is called a power shopping center. It has Stop and Shop, Lowe's, Target, Staples. It's a thriving area right now, where there was, as you can see, that was the pad. There was absolutely nothing there once Anchor Glass just packed up and went away. And the monies that we use for our projects are specifically for remediation costs, to let you know on that. We had one of our most recent was in Bloomfield. It was a medical arts building, and that was to the tune of about $600,000. We had some, I'd like to mention that we had some other projects that have expired because of the economy. But then we're picking up again. So we, as I said, we've expended almost $15 million in TIF monies alone, which is a lot. And we also had one time a lot of for instance, I will give you an example. The Fairfield train station had been interested in using our TIF, but when the economy took a downturn, it just didn't work out in that respect. But the good news is there are a lot of developers that are starting to think about using Connecticut and using our TIF, coming to Connecticut and using our TIF, because it is a way for them to offset the cost of the remediation.
Great. I had on a pre-owned auto dealership, our company would be interested in a revolving line of credit for our inventory to replace our current floor plan company's lending due to their high loan fees and interest rates. Do you offer a program for this? Sounds like a revolving line of credit.
We do not have a revolving line of credit, but we do have what we call a permanent working capital, which is a term loan that we provide for working capital purposes. However, we could supplement the need for the revolving line by providing a guarantee or buying part of the loan participation from a bank of your line if you felt that the bank, for one reason or another, was restricting your ability to have the sufficient liquidity working capital that you required. So again, there are two ways to approach this. We could go in and provide you with a term loan for working capital, but that wouldn't give you the ability to have it in place all the time. So that doesn't sound like it would work for you and your specific need. So we could look at a bank or help you find a bank that would be willing to provide a elevator type line of credit, and we could supplement any need that may require through our guarantee program or through our junior participation program with that lender.
That's great, and I'll be putting up Joe's contact information as well as the other presenters in a couple minutes, and I would encourage you to contact them directly. I think you'll find them very helpful. The next question we had was, is funding available for startups that have received patents and completed engineering of the product but need funding to produce the prototype to take to market? What about personal guarantees, etc.?
That would be done by the equity side of the house of the CI, and yes, they will look at those types of transactions on a selective basis. Typically, they'd be taking some share of the business at some agreed upon level that would be worked out through the negotiations. They may or may not require personal guarantees, again, based on the view of the entire plan and based on the value of the intellectual property. Oftentimes, they will take an interest in that intellectual property to supplement the requirements for personal guarantees. I can't take personal guarantees off the board, but they would evaluate it truly from an equity standpoint. They do seed and pre-seed, types of deals over there. So they're very experienced with the early stage and maturity growth levels of their various types of companies. And they do understand and have the technical background, that side of the house, the equity side of the house, to understand the intellectual value of the property that you may have.
Great. And Joe, would you have a contact over there you would suggest this attendee getting in touch with?
Sure. He could call Peter Longo.
Okay.
Who runs the shop there, LONGO, and we can provide you with his direct dial.
Right. And I know Peter's contact information is on the CDA website as well.
Yes, it is. If they'd like to send me an email in advance, I would be happy to facilitate that contact with Peter.
Great. Thanks, Joe.
Okay, next, Sandra Rizzo will run through the application process, how to get started. Sandra?
The application process, I'm going to kind of discuss the general loan programs that we offer. There are some differences between ours and the brownfields. The application process is similar for each of the loan products that are offered by CI. Basic requirements include businesses that have been in operation for at least 5 years with an experienced and committed management team, those that offer a competitive product with a solid distribution chain, and also have job retention goals and job creation benchmarks. Now, this is not an all-inclusive list, and there can certainly be exceptions. Company has to be able to demonstrate an ability to service debt on a current and or projected basis and provide an updated business plan to substantiate the turnaround or growth. The starting point for any loan with CI is to discuss the transaction with a CI loan officer. We will work in conjunction with you and your bank to provide a loan to meet your needs. All applications must be submitted in hard copy. It's recommended to not submit any application prior to meeting with a commercial lender or a CI loan officer. The application can vary based on the type of loan that the borrower is applying for. Once a completed application is received, we can provide a brief overview response within a few days as to whether or not the proposed transaction is attainable. Moving through the process, a preliminary proposal is reviewed in a credit screening committee before being further processed and recommended to the loan committee for final approval, with the loan committee meeting once a month. There is a list of documentation that is required to be submitted with all applications, including 3 fiscal year-end business financial statements and business tax returns, schedule of all contingent liabilities and interim statements, a current business plan including a description of the applicant, its products and services, details of the project, and an explanation of the use of the loan proceeds. If the applicant happens to be a newly formed business, an opening balance sheet and 3 years of projections are required. We also look for the agings of accounts receivables and payables and a list of inventory. For applicants that are not publicly held, a signed and dated current financial statement and personal tax return of each individual owning 10% or more, and then includes a schedule of all contingent liabilities. A brief resume for each of the individuals. An affirmative action plan must be submitted and approved prior to a loan closing. The last quarterly UC 5A Connecticut Department of Labor report. An application fee of $250. The most important factor in the application process is ensuring a complete application is submitted. Complete the application. An incomplete application will delay the process as additional information is collected. Lastly, please be assured that all information submitted to CI remains confidential. Cynthia?
Sure. Thank you, Sandra. Actually, you're 10 times more complete than I will. And there are a lot of crossovers as Sandra had mentioned, in the process. But for the loan and the loan guarantee, my process would be the same as Sandra's. A little bit different on the TIF. On the TIF, we have the 2 applications. One is for the owner-developer, and one is for the municipality. So I work through this process, and I sit down with the owner-developer, and I sit down with the municipality, because the municipality has to agree on how much taxes will be dedicated to the project for a certain period of years. And then once again, we say, do not complete the application before discussing this with us. Also, in this process, I have spreadsheets that the town finance manager and usually the developer will have to work with prior. But it is I have to say, on both ends, on both the CI loans and our TIP loans, the process, it is very orderly, and I won't say always easy, but it's a process that we work through with you. Nobody leaves anyone hanging, and 9 times out of 10, we're waiting for a piece of information, as Sandra had said. So to make it go smoother, please make sure it says complete questions. Please, call us, and we will get the information. On mine, it's a little different. I need environmentals, and I work with the LE, the licensed environmental professionals, to get those reports. But once again, our process too goes to the loan committee, as it does at CI and gets approved through their board.
Well, one of the reasons that CBI has partnered with CI is because of the positive feedback we have heard from companies in dealing with both CI and the former CDA, and the helpfulness of the employees in sort of helping companies navigate that loan process, which sometimes can be confusing and cumbersome, but they do a great job. So once again, I would encourage you to get in touch with them. In terms of additional questions, let us know if you have any, and I will get them to the presenters. In the meantime, we can go to the next slide, which covers the contact information. If you need to get in touch with any of our speakers today, here is the contact information for them. Linda Walaba, unfortunately, was unable to attend today. I believe she's ill, but you can contact her as well here. If you need to get in touch with me, you can certainly do so. My contact information is here. Unfortunately, that's not the correct email address. It's tom.guerra@cbia.com. And also, we have one more question, and that is just I will call upon the close of the webinar and look forward to discussing our opportunities in further detail. So I guess, Joe, you should be expecting a call. And really, that concludes it if there's no more questions. I'd like to thank both our attendees. We had about 25 dialed in, including a couple rooms full of people. And also like to thank our presenters for taking the time today to cover the specific loans and programs that CI has available. Again, I would encourage you to contact them directly. If you need to contact me, do so, and I will put them in touch with any of the CI contacts depending on your specific needs. This concludes the webinar. Again, it will be posted tomorrow or early Friday at cbi.com. And if you have questions in the future, feel free to give us a call. Thank you and have a great day.